Have you ever reached the end of a year and realized you hadn't really gone anywhere even though you'd been busy the entire time? Not just a week or a month. An entire year. You woke up early, worked late, barely rested on weekends, and when you finally sat down on the last night of December, you felt something strange, exhausted, but empty. Busy, but not moving forward. In motion, but without direction. This is not the feeling of laziness. This is the feeling of someone driving very fast but with no idea where they're going. Imagine sitting behind the wheel, engine roaring, speedometer at 100 kilometers per hour, a wide open road stretching ahead. But no map. No destination. No GPS. After 8 hours of driving like that, you might have covered hundreds of kilometers, but to where? You don't know. And that is more frightening than standing still. That is exactly the difference between someone who has a plan and someone who is simply living day to day. Not a difference in effort. Not in intelligence or luck. But in direction, clear, specific, written down, and reviewed every week like a compass. The 21st century has done something very dangerous. It has turned busyness into a virtue. "I'm so busy" has become the most celebrated answer when someone asks what you've been up to. Busyness is equated with importance, with value, with success. People take pride in having no time to rest. But this is one of the most dangerous illusions of our age. Researcher Newport studied thousands of knowledge workers over many years and discovered a troubling paradox. The busiest people are often not the ones who create the most value. In fact, constant busyness is usually a sign of lacking strategy and inability to distinguish between what truly matters and what merely creates the feeling of mattering. There is an enormous gap between those two things. And over time, that gap determines who you become. Psychology has a term for what happens without a plan: cognitive drift. It is the phenomenon of the brain being continuously pulled toward immediate, tangible stimuli rather than focusing on longer-term and more meaningful goals. This is an ancient survival mechanism our ancestors needed to react immediately to threats rather than plan for a winter 5 seasons away. That mechanism kept them alive. But in the modern world, it has become our enemy. Social media, email, messages, phone notifications, all are deliberately designed to exploit that immediate reaction reflex. Professor Gloria Mark at the University of California, Irvine found that after each interruption, the brain needs an average of 23 minutes to return to its previous depth of focus. If you're interrupted 10 times a day, completely normal for most people, you've lost nearly 4 hours simply restarting your thinking. A clear plan is the only shield against that drift. When you know exactly what you're doing and why, the brain has a filter to evaluate everything that appears before it. Is this relevant to my goal? Without a plan, everything seems equally important, and when everything is equally important, nothing truly is. Research from Dominican University of California shows that people who write their goals down are 42 more likely to achieve them compared to people who only think about them. Not because writing has any magic in it, but because the act of writing forces the brain to convert a vague idea into something specific and actionable. And the research goes further. People who wrote their goals, created specific action steps, and shared weekly progress with someone else achieved a success rate of up to 76. Not because they were smarter or luckier, but because they had a system. Why is writing so powerful? The answer lies in how the brain works. When you write a goal down, the reticular activating system, the RAS, is activated. The RAS is the brain's information filter. It decides, out of the millions of signals your senses receive every second, which ones deserve your conscious attention. When you write a specific goal, you are programming the RAS. You are telling your brain, pay attention to anything relevant to this target. That's why when you decide to buy a red car, you suddenly see red cars everywhere. They were always there. But now your RAS knows they are relevant and brings them into your awareness. A goal that isn't written down is just a wish waiting to disappear. A goal that is written down is a command sent to your brain. But not all goals are created equal. This is where many people make their first mistake. They write goals that are far too vague. I want to be successful. I want to be wealthier. I want to be healthier. Those are not goals, they are wishes. And the brain does not know what to do with vague wishes. The brain needs specificity to act. Specificity is the fuel of action. Research on SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound shows that vague goals like I want to be successful don't activate the brain's action system. Specific goals like I will save a set amount each month for the next 6 months do. Let's understand each component, because each one serves its own critical role. Specific means your goal must answer at least 3 questions. What exactly do I want to do? Where and when does this happen? And why does this matter to me? Instead of saying I want to learn English, write, I want to achieve an IELTS score of 7.0 to apply for a master's scholarship in Australia in 2026, by studying at a language center every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday evening in self-studying 1 additional hour every day. Same direction, completely different level of specificity, and that difference determines whether action follows. Measurable means you can tell clearly whether you have achieved your goal or not. Not by feeling, but by specific criteria. Achievable does not mean easy and safe. Edwin Locke and Gary Latham, the founding researchers of goal-setting theory, proved that goals with higher difficulty, but still within reach, lead to higher performance than easy goals. Your goal should sit in your growth zone, challenging enough to require real effort, but not so far away that your brain refuses to believe it's possible. Relevant is the question most people skip, but it is the most psychologically important one. Does this goal genuinely belong to you? Not to your parents, not to society, not to someone you admire, but to you, rooted in your actual core values and priorities. When a goal isn't connected to what you truly care about, motivation evaporates quickly when difficulty arrives. That is why many people quit, not because they are weak, but because they have been chasing a goal they never truly wanted. Time-bound draws on the principle known as Parkinson's law: work expands to fill the time allotted for it. If you have a week to finish a report, you will use the full week. If you have 3 days, you will finish in 3 days. Deadlines create positive pressure, activating the brain's dopamine and norepinephrine systems, sharpening focus and motivation in a way nothing else can replicate. A plan is not something you create once and store in a drawer. A good plan is a living tool. You look at it every week, adjust when needed, and use it as a compass when you don't know what to prioritize today. Military strategist Dwight Eisenhower once said, "Plans are worthless, but planning is everything." Not because plans are useless, but because the real value lies in the thinking process the planning forces you through. What truly matters? What obstacles might appear? What do I need to make this happen? Those questions create cognitive clarity that cannot exist if you simply let things unfold by inertia. And that clarity doesn't disappear even when the plan changes. There is an important difference between a compass and a map. A map provides a fixed route. If that route is blocked, you are lost. A compass always points north. Regardless of where you are or which road is blocked, you always know the direction you need to go. A good plan works like a compass. It establishes clear direction while remaining flexible about the specific path. The goal does not change, but how you reach it can and should evolve as reality demands. To make a plan a true living tool, you need a layered system. The first layer is your long-term vision, 5 to 10 years, the person you want to become, the core values you want to live by. The second layer is your 1-year goals, 3 to 5 major results you want to achieve this year. The third layer is a 90-day plan with specific priorities and key projects. The fourth layer is a monthly plan with concrete actions and deadlines. The fifth layer is a weekly plan with a specific schedule and priority tasks. And the final layer is a daily plan, the 3 to 5 most important things you need to do today. Every layer serves the one above it. What you do today serves your weekly plan. Your weekly plan serves your monthly plan. And so on up to your long-term vision. This is how you turn a 10-year dream into today's action, not by increasing motivation or willpower, but by building a clear system. One specific practice that keeps that system alive is the weekly review. Every Sunday evening, Spend 30 to 60 minutes reviewing what happened the previous week, assessing your progress toward your goals, clearing everything waiting in your inbox, and planning the coming week with your 3 to 5 clearest priorities. When you do this consistently, you never lose direction for too long. However chaotic any given week may be, you know that Sunday evening you will reset and realign. That is a kind of peace of mind no app or tool can deliver without this practice behind it. There is one thing many people get wrong: they think the plan has to be perfect before they start. Psychologists call this paralysis by analysis. You're researching, preparing, waiting for more information, and while you wait, time passes and nothing actually happens. Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, follows a well-known principle: most important decisions should be made when you have roughly 70% of the information you need. Waiting for more might gain a little more accuracy, but at the cost of opportunity and time. That is rarely a worthwhile trade. Perfectionism is actually a protective mechanism of the brain. When you wait for everything to be perfect before you start, you are protecting yourself from the risk of failure in judgment. If you haven't really tried, you haven't really failed. But a 70 complete plan that gets executed is always better than a 100 perfect plan that stays inside your head. Action is where plans become reality, and reality will show you what the plan needs to adjust. Without action, a plan is just a hypothesis. Instead of building a linear plan from A to Z, plan in iterative loops. Create a plan good enough to start, execute, observe results, learn, adjust the plan, and execute again. This is how scientists work. This is how software developers work. And this is how people who truly succeed build their lives. 2 common barriers stop most people before they begin. The first: I don't know what I want. This is rarely the truth. It is usually a sign of one of 3 things: not having spent enough time seriously considering the question, fear of commitment because of fear of disappointment if you don't reach it, or waiting to find a passion when in fact passion most often comes from becoming skilled at something, not the other way around. Your starting point doesn't need to be passion, it just needs to be a direction clear enough to take the next step. The second: I don't have time. But everyone has 24 hours each day. The difference is not time, it is how time is prioritized. 30 minutes per day, 365 days a year, is more than 182 hours. Enough to develop genuine competency in a new skill. Enough to create real change. Positive psychology shows that having meaningful goals is a crucial element of lasting well-being. It is not only reaching the goal that brings happiness, it is the sense of progress over time, the feeling of moving towards something meaningful. That generates dopamine and serotonin, 2 key neurotransmitters for a positive mental state. Many people experience a kind of vague anxiety with no clear source, a feeling of unease, of something being wrong or missing. This is often the natural response of a mind that senses life is passing without a clear direction. When you have a clear plan and clear goals, that vague anxiety typically diminishes, not because life becomes easier, but because the brain no longer has to continuously run the background question: what should I do with my life? The answer already exists. The brain can direct its energy toward execution rather than worry. Accountability, being answerable to someone else, is the factor that raises goal achievement rates to 76 in research. An accountability partner is not someone who controls or judges you, they are someone with whom you honestly and regularly share your goals, your progress, and your challenges. Equally important is designing your environment to support right action. If you want to exercise every morning, set out your workout clothes the night before and place them beside your bed. If you want to read more, put the book on your nightstand and leave your phone in another room. Reduce friction for good actions. Increase friction for bad ones. You do not need iron willpower, you need a thoughtfully designed environment. So today, not next week, not the first of next month, write down 3 sentences. First, what do I want in the next 12 months? This is your vision question. Write what you genuinely want, not what you think you should want, when you are honest with yourself. Second, what will I do this month to move toward it? This is your specific action question, not a plan for the whole year, just this month. What do you need to learn, do, or set in motion? Be specific enough to write it into your calendar. Third, what will I do tomorrow? This is your immediate action question, one small, concrete, executable thing you can do tomorrow. Not next week. Tomorrow. Those 3 sentences are not a perfect plan, but they are a starting point. And a starting point is the most important thing. Because once you've started, you can adjust. Before you've started, there is nothing to adjust. Your story is not finished yet. Every day is a new page. The only question is, who will write it, you or circumstance? People without a plan end up becoming part of someone else's plan. Like and subscribe so you never miss the next rule. Comment below, what is your biggest goal for the next 12 months?